My name is Kate, and I'm 40 years old. I've been married to my husband Mason for 10 years. He's the same age as me and was a colleague at work. We're now at different branches, but we used to be in the same department. My husband is a responsible person who is admired by his subordinates. He's a bit vain and doesn't like to show his weaknesses to others. He was a confident, flashy, and masculine man. His work performance was highly regarded by his superiors, and he was expected to be promoted without any problems. In contrast, I'm a rather low-key and inconspicuous type. I was honestly surprised when he passionately pursued me, as we have opposite personalities. After dating for 2 years, he proposed to me with a large bouquet of roses. I had never been so loved by a man before, so I accepted his proposal immediately. I couldn't wait to start our wonderful life together. However, what awaited us was living with my in-laws. There was no prior discussion, and I wanted to refuse, but my husband was adamant about living with them. "My parents are good people, so everything will be fine," he said, and he passionately explained how much they were looking forward to living with me, so I couldn't refuse. We've been living with his parents in their home for the past 10 years. Life there was unimaginable when we first got married. "Kate, you've forgotten to clean the entrance again." My mother-in-law would start nagging as I finished making breakfast for everyone. This ritual happens every day. "I'm sorry," I would say, but she would reply, "Just apologizing won't do. If you understand, go and do it right away." Even though I had to go to work, I was treated like a servant from morning. For the past 10 years living with my in-laws, I've been forced to wake up at 5 a.m. to cook breakfast and clean. My mother-in-law, a housewife, should have time to do housework herself, but she doesn't. I rush through the morning chores, go to work, come home, and immediately start cooking dinner. By the time I go to bed, I'm so exhausted that I practically pass out. This has been going on for so long that I've become weak and often feel unwell. The cause is probably stress. "Do the cleaning properly. I don't want the neighbors to think we're neglecting it," my mother-in-law would say as she relaxed in the living room eating the breakfast I made. "If you don't finish quickly, you'll be late for work," she would add. Even with this going on, my husband never once stood up for me. My father-in-law would hide behind his newspaper and pretend not to see. Since moving in with my in-laws, I've been subjected to terrible mistreatment. The stress has caused my weight to drop drastically, and I now look unhealthy. My period stopped due to my sudden weight loss, and I couldn't get pregnant. Despite being the cause of this, my mother-in-law continued to blame me. Before getting married, I cared about how I looked and was healthy. Now there's no trace of that. The stress from the mistreatment and the shock of seeing my reflection in the mirror make me feel depressed. I had become completely submissive to my mother-in-law. I lost all motivation and couldn't bring myself to leave the house. It was during that time that I received news of my father's death. He had suddenly passed away in an accident. I hadn't been back to my parents' home in a long time because my mother-in-law and husband would criticize me for wanting to go. I deeply regretted not visiting more when I heard that my father had passed away. My parents' home is about an hour's drive from my in-laws' house, so it's not too far away. I asked them if they would come to my father's funeral. "My father's funeral is happening, so..." "Well, we won't be going. Just have your family there, okay?" The two of them cut me off before I could finish speaking. I never thought that they could be so heartless. I simply replied, "I understand," as I held my trembling shoulders from anger and sadness. Many people attended my father's funeral. He was self-employed and had connections with a lot of people. Everyone who came to the funeral shed tears, showing how much my father was loved. "Kate, It's been a while. You've lost so much weight. What happened? My mother, who I hadn't seen in a long time, was surprised at my gaunt appearance. Oh, it's nothing. You're not sick, are you? I can't bear to lose you too. My mother, who had just lost her husband, thought I had some disease and started crying. I'm not sick, Mom. I'm fine. Don't worry. I calmed my mother down and we took a break in the waiting room. Well, if you're not sick, what is it? I recalled my interactions with my mother-in-law and husband. Even when they learned that my father had passed away, they didn't say a single thing to comfort me. Anger bubbled up inside me, and I decided to tell my mother about my life with my in-laws. Actually, I've been experiencing what you might call bride bullying. I'm just so tired. As I looked down while speaking, she looked at me with a worried expression. I'm glad you're not sick, but I can't relax at all. Is that the reason you haven't been visiting us much? I nodded, and my mother handed me a piece of paper. Read it for yourself and think carefully about what to do next. The paper she gave me was my father's will. My meticulous father had left a will in case something happened. It included information about inheritance as well. I get a $790,000 inheritance. That's what it says. You can decide how to use it. I was shocked by the large amount. At the same time, I had hope that I could end the living situation with my in-laws. With this, I can build a house and leave my in-laws' home right away. My life seemed to be getting better thanks to the inheritance my father left me. I went home to my in-laws' house and did housework as usual. On days when I have plans, the house gets messier than usual. It can't be helped since there's no one to clean. As I silently did housework, I thought about the $790K I had inherited from my father. I had resentment towards my mother-in-law, but I still wanted to be with my husband. I decided to be honest about the large inheritance and proposed that we leave my in-laws' house. I have something to talk about. I began speaking with my husband after my in-laws had gone to bed and we were alone. Yeah, so it's about my dad. It turns out I'm going to inherit his estate. Oh, really? How much? Well, it's $790K. When I told him the amount, my husband looked dumbfounded as if he couldn't believe the figure. What? Are you serious? Yes, $790,000. When he understood what I had said, he was delighted and said, Wow, he left that much for you? That's so generous. So, about what to do with the money? Since he was in a good mood, I decided to get to the main point. But before I could speak, he said something outrageous. We need to transfer that money to my mom's bank account right away. I didn't understand what he was saying. It was so absurd that I thought he was joking. Wait, why? I inherited it, so that's not right. As I laughed and spoke, he slammed his hand on the table. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? A wife's money belongs to her mother-in-law. He probably didn't even realize he was saying something ridiculous. Looking into his serious eyes, I felt frightened. I'm sorry. I don't quite understand what you're saying. All I wanted was to talk about building a house for the two of us. But he wouldn't let me and tried to make my inheritance into his mother's property. That night, I was so shocked that I couldn't sleep. The next morning, as I was preparing breakfast, my husband and mother-in-law approached me with angry expressions. So Kate, I heard that you inherited $790,000 but said you wouldn't give it to me. What are you thinking? She had already heard about the inheritance from my husband. But I'm the one who inherited it. Stop arguing and transfer it to my mom's account right now. A wife's money is the family's money, right? The two of them seemed determined to get their hands on the inheritance by force. No matter how much I resisted, I was only blamed. Thinking that resistance was futile, I fell silent and my husband showed me a piece of paper. You're getting carried away just because you got your hands on some money. What's with the attitude? I'm the one supporting you. If you don't change your mind, it's divorce. The paper was a divorce form. I've already signed it. Take this and go back to your parents' house. If you apologize properly, I might not go through with the divorce. I received the divorce form with my husband's section completely filled out. As I stared at the divorce form, my memories came flooding back. I had never been supported in this house. I paid the same amount of living expenses as my husband, and all the housework was my responsibility. I had never been taken care of. Yet, the two of them always looked down on me. In the end, they even tried to take my father's money. If I stayed here, I might give in to the pressure from the two of them and hand over the inheritance. But this money was what my father had left for me. I thought it was rather an opportunity to be told to go back to my parents' house. Having the filled out divorce form in hand, I now had the power to make decisions for the future. I swore in my heart that I would never give up my father's inheritance and made a certain decision. That day after work, I went back to my parents' house. I'm home! Welcome back, sweetie! I had a feeling you'd be coming home soon. My mother said with a gentle smile as she warmly welcomed me, worn out from my experiences. The table was set with her home-cooked dishes. I couldn't remember the last time I had eaten a meal made by someone else. As I took a bite of the warm meal, I was moved to tears by how good it all tasted. Did you tell Mason about the inheritance? Yes, and that's when things got complicated. I told my mother everything that my husband and mother-in-law had said. She was stunned by the shocking content. The inheritance is yours, and it's up to you to decide how to live your life from now on. As tears streamed down my face, she gently put her arm around my shoulder. After staying at my mother's house for a week, I decided to return to my in-laws' home. Well, I'm going now. Take care. I was no longer afraid to return to that house. With a refreshed mindset, I headed back to my in-laws' home. Finally back, huh? Have you reflected on your actions? My husband and mother-in-law were waiting for me with their arms crossed. Yes, I'm sorry. Please let me live in this house again. I uttered an apology that was only skin deep. Hearing this, my mother-in-law smirked. Then hurry up and hand over the inheritance. Actually, the inheritance procedures are taking longer than expected. It's still not with me. It's a complicated process, so it'll probably take another half a year or more. It takes that long? Well, that's fine. They seemed satisfied, thinking that I would obediently hand over the inheritance. But they continued to nag me about staying at my mother's house for a week. The house is a mess because you didn't do your duties as a wife. Clean it up quickly. My in-laws' home was a mess after just a week, and it was unsanitary. It was actually impressive to make it so filthy in such a short amount of time. Yes, the old me would have been devastated to see the house in this state. But now, things were different. I didn't care about being bullied by my mother-in-law or being forced to do tough housework. I did the housework as ordered by her. 10 months later, it was my mother-in-law's birthday. Well, we're going now. Make sure to keep the house clean. She always went on a trip for her birthday, and of course, they never took me. By the way, have you received the inheritance yet? It's supposed to arrive today. Well, isn't that perfect? That 790K is a present from my mom. Make sure to transfer it to her account before we return. There was no way the inheritance would conveniently arrive on her birthday. My husband couldn't see through my lie. I didn't respond, but simply saw them off with a smile, saying, "Take care and have a safe trip." Once they were out of sight, I began to put my plan into action. I had been waiting for this day for a long time. They would surely be surprised when they returned from their trip, but it was no longer my concern. I quickly packed my belongings and left my in-laws' house. Wow, this is amazing! I was moving my belongings into my new home. In fact, I have built a house with my father's inheritance. I'm so happy I get to live in such a beautiful house. I had decided to invite my mother and live together. I am truly happy that I don't have to be bothered by them anymore. I sank into the soft sofa and felt content. Today is a celebration of our new home with my mother. We invited a chef to our home and spent a luxurious day. The next evening, I received a phone call from my husband. Hey, what's going on? He couldn't understand what was happening since all my things were gone when they returned home. I won't be coming back, so goodbye. I tried to hang up since I didn't want to talk to him anymore, but I could hear my mother-in-law raising her voice on the other side of the phone. What the hell do you think you're doing? Where are you now? I can't answer that. You told me to clean the house, so I put my things away. That's not funny. Besides, you haven't transferred the inheritance yet. How many times do I have to say that a daughter-in-law's money is mine? Huh? I'm single, you know. When I answered that way, my screaming mother-in-law suddenly fell silent. Single? Well, I'm actually divorced. I submitted the divorce papers Mason gave me. We're strangers now. Goodbye. I said that and hung up the phone. Imagining the dumbfounded mother-in-law on the other end, I could not stop laughing. My heart felt so light now that I had nothing to do with that family. After that, my ex-husband called me many times. When I had time, I would purposely answer the phone and let the abusive words from my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law flow. I recorded those calls from beginning to end. I decided to consult the police with those recordings. It's not uncommon for cases of harassment from an ex-husband. We'll issue a warning before it becomes dangerous. Fortunately, the police responded quickly and went to my former in-law's house to issue a warning. For my image-conscious former in-laws, having the police come was damaging enough. Plus, a subordinate of my ex-husband who lived nearby saw the police coming. Since my ex was a prominent figure in the company, the rumor spread quickly. Furthermore, his subordinates and colleagues who didn't like him started to exaggerate the story and spread bad rumors about him. Eventually, the rumor reached the department I belonged to. So I heard the police came? I'm divorced now, so I don't know much about it. What? You're divorced? Yeah, the bullying from my mother-in-law and my husband's abusive words were too much. I spoke in a slightly louder voice so that those around me could hear. The gossip-loving employees heard this and spread the rumor even further. It didn't take long for my ex-husband's boss to hear about it. You've got quite a lot of bad rumors going around. What are you talking about? I hate men who can't cherish their wives. And with such bad rumors going around, our reputation suffers too. So I decided to have you transferred. The transfer order given to my ex-husband was a harsh one. This place is... It was the branch office in the region with the worst performance. The area was called a landlocked island as there was no entertainment or anything of that sort around. You understand what being sent here means, right? Everything he had built up until now had crumbled, and there would be no chance of promotion in the future. He accepted the transfer order and moved to the countryside without being able to refuse. As for my ex-mother-in-law, she must have been shocked by her son's lowered reputation and the fact that they could no longer live together. She became a complete shut-in and eventually developed depression. It seemed she also had dementia as she frequently caused disturbances at home. My ex-father-in-law desperately took care of his deteriorated wife. Even if not related by blood, she is still an important family member. It was only natural that the ex-in-laws faced the consequences of their continuous harassment towards me. Now, my mother and I are living happily together. We even started gardening in our spacious yard. If I were still in that house, I would never have found such a wonderful hobby. Having a hobby has invigorated me. My body, which was once worn out due to stress, is now healthy. I'm very happy to have cut ties with my ex-in-law's family.
My husband was diagnosed with depression. He needs to rest. I need you to rent me your house. Why would I do that? When my husband and I refused, my sister-in-law and her husband took us by surprise. But it seems like their plan backfired. Linda, you got what you deserve. Please, make sure they pay for their crimes. My name is Michaela. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. My husband Aaron and I have been married for 6 years. We have been together since high school and started dating when we were 18 years old, so we've been together for 14 years now. Even after all those years, we're still in love just like we always have been, and we feel very happy every day. After graduating from high school, my husband and I went to the same university. There, he studied business administration and I studied English literature to improve my English skills. We both did well in our studies in university and got good grades, which we used as an advantage to get jobs. After that, I got a job at a small company and started to work very hard and became a certified interpreter while I was working. My husband got a job at a large company and is working very hard. We both worked hard at our jobs and made time for each other. We continued our relationship and got married when I was 26. We actually didn't have a wedding. That's because we were trying to save money. My husband and I have been saving money since before we got married. It was for one goal only. We both dreamed of building our own home. So even after we started working, we lived at each other's parents' houses and saved money until we got married. We got married when we both started advancing in our careers. My husband got a promotion and I got my certification and started working. And even though we started to have more money, we tried to rent cheap apartments as much as possible. We didn't go out to eat except on anniversaries, and we cooked our own meals. We felt that we were making a good living, and more than anything, we were happy knowing that we were saving more and more money. We could see that we were doing the right thing, and we were very happy to visualize that we were moving towards our dream of owning a home. Once we had saved up a certain amount of money, my husband and I started going to real estate agencies and began thinking about getting our own house. I was so happy and content during that time that I felt my dream of owning my own house was becoming more and more realistic. When my husband and I had meals together, we would often talk about the house, and we would naturally come up with ideas like, I want this one. Now, 10 years after we both started working, my husband and I have finally decided to build our own home. I couldn't have been happier. It had always been a dream of mine to build my own home since I was in high school, and I told my husband about that when we were just dating. And now, it was finally time for our dream home to come true. I have been excited every day since we started construction for the house. Michaela, you seem to be in a good mood. Really? To tell you the truth, the construction for my house just began. Oh, I see. It's always been your dream, right? Yes, since high school. That's a very long time. No wonder you're so excited. Once the house is complete, please come over. Really? I'd love to. Sarah is my senior, and she is an interpreter and a pretty good one at that. When I was just starting out as an interpreter, she supported me a lot. She's 3 years older than me, but she is so cool in her fashion, her mood, her way of speaking, and her little gestures, and I admire her. She has an aura about her that makes you think you are in a fashionable European town just walking around with her. And when I talk to her in person, I can see she's not trying to pretend to be something she's not, but just living her life as it is. I hope to be a cool woman like Sarah someday. When my dream of owning a home comes true, I'm going to work hard on improving myself. As I was spending my days thinking about these things, my home was finally complete. Wow, it's amazing. The house is just as I wanted it to be. When we arrived at the completed house, we were impressed just by looking at the exterior. And once we got inside, it was amazing. It was exactly what my husband and I had asked for after consulting with the realtor. This is going to be our future home. I'm getting really emotional, you know. We're going to live here together every day and make a lot of memories. I'm excited just thinking about it. We'll probably have a baby and we can play together in the yard. A boy or a girl? I'd like a boy. I want to play catch with him. I want a girl. I want to go shopping and go to cafes with her. My husband and I were thrilled and excited the whole time, and we had a lot of fun talking about the future. After that, we started living in our own house. Every morning when I wake up, I'm so happy knowing that I get to live in my own home. The kitchen is very easy to use. I enjoy cooking every day. I naturally wanted to try out different recipes, and my cooking skills improved as I went along. We also invited our respective families to the house. When my parents arrived, they were both moved into tears. I'm so happy for you both. I'm glad you were finally able to fulfill your dream. Mom, Dad, don't cry. There is no way a proud parent would not cry during this moment. I was happy that my parents were happy to see that I was so excited. And when my in-laws come over, they were all so touched. It was really nice. You can tell they talked it over and made the house exactly the way you wanted it. That's what my in-laws were saying. Oh, look at the kitchen! I wish I could use it. That's what my sister-in-law exclaims. She's 2 years older than my husband and I, but she is a bit mentally young and childish. And she was more excited than others. It's amazing, amazing, amazing! You and your family are going to live in a house like this? I mean, we already live in it. We built this house, my husband told her. But my sister-in-law was excited as ever, looking around saying, "Oh, I'm so jealous." And there was one more person who was excited. That person was my sister-in-law's husband, Tyler. Hey, there's quite a few rooms. The big yard would be perfect for barbecues. It makes me want to live here. That's for sure. My sister-in-law and her husband were joking, of course, but my husband and I were a little taken back by that comment. We didn't want them to say that they wanted to live in our house that we had worked so hard to build. Well, after that, we were all too busy eating and drinking together, so my husband and I decided not to mention it. But then, about a month later, I got a call from my sister-in-law out of the blue. "Hey, Linda, what's wrong?" I rarely receive phone calls from my sister-in-law. What on earth did she want? "The house of yours is wonderful. Will you let me live there for a while?" I was surprised when my sister-in-law called me and suddenly said something like that. What do you mean by that? First of all, I didn't understand what she meant. Is she asking to move in with us? My husband has depression. Oh, really? I'm so sorry to hear that. It's been hard, very hard. He can't go to work anymore. He's been resting in the room right now. But he seems to be in a lot of pain. I see. So please, he needs some rest, so let me rent this house. Why would I do that? I'm sorry that Tyler's depressed, but I can't just rent you our house. Wow, you're terrible. You're supposed to be nice to sick people, aren't you? I mean, even so,
put Aaron on the phone.
He's not back from work yet, but I think he feels the same way. We won't let you rent our house.
That's your opinion, right? Aaron cares about his big sister, so he'll definitely rent it out to me.
Where on earth does my sister-in-law's absolute confidence come from? I ended the call by saying I'll talk to my husband because I was afraid she would pester me endlessly with requests. I told this to my husband when he came home from work and he was stunned.
Of course, I won't allow that. What is Linda thinking?
My husband said that and called Linda himself, but she still wouldn't back down.
Do you not have a shred of kindness in your heart? Tyler is in so much pain. You're a heartless person.
Even I could hear my sister-in-law's screams through the phone. My husband, not wanting to beck and call, coldly dismissed her, saying, "It doesn't matter what you say to me." But my sister-in-law hung up the phone, saying she'd go talk to him in person next time. I was on speaker, so I heard what my sister-in-law said too. I feel really dumbfounded. What in the world is she going to do when she comes over here? And a few days later, my sister-in-law and her husband really came to our house.
Please, please, please just give us the house. Tyler is in a lot of pain.
Tyler looked pale, much different from the last time he came to visit us.
I still can't rent you the house, but what the hell happened?
My husband asked, looking tired.
He's actually harassed by his boss. It's driving him crazy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Right, so please. No, that's crazy, right? What? Why do you need to rent our house? Because like I said, Tyler needs to rest. It's going to feel more like a vacation home in this new house. In this house that you've been living in, right? It'll lift up his spirits and help with the depression.
Huh? My husband sounded annoyed. My husband and I feel the same way. My sister-in-law's logic is far-fetched and ludicrous. She's probably trying to make it look like they wanted to live when they first came here. But neither my husband nor I deceived such an easy-to-see lie.
I wouldn't rent the house no matter what you say. You say he has depression, but you have a medical certificate or something. Has he reported this to the company? There are procedures to get medical benefits and all that. Did you report to the company that he was being harassed by his boss in the first place? What's the company doing about this? I don't trust someone who says they're suffering from depression when they don't even explain those details at all.
My sister-in-law and her husband seemed to panic when my husband spoke up.
Hey, don't say those things all at once. Tyler and I have never been in a situation like this before. Anyway, it's true, he's depressed. Just let us rent the house. No means no, just give up.
When my sister-in-law tried to force us to rent the house to them, my husband stubbornly refused. When we wouldn't budge even after she raised her voice in anger, my sister-in-law finally cursed at us for being bastards and took her husband home. We were so tired. I doubt he's depressed if they're acting this way. I'm really sorry for the trouble she put you through. I'm so glad you said no. This is our home and we won't let anyone take it away. My sister-in-law and her husband were a pain in the ass. But it was still nice to know that my husband and I had a strong bond. But then something unexpected happened. When my husband and I refused, my sister-in-law and her husband took a surprising step.
What? You gave Michaela and Tyler money?
When my husband received a phone call from my parents-in-law, we learned a shocking truth. It seems that my sister-in-law and her husband told my parents-in-law that Tyler was suffering from depression, and my parents-in-law gave them money.
Why did you do that?
Because I feel sorry for them. In times like this, we should support each other as a family. My parents-in-law seemed to completely believe my sister-in-law and her husband's story, and no matter what my husband said, it was all they did for them. My parents-in-law has been giving them money to my sister-in-law and her husband frequently since then. I can't believe they're taking advantage of my in-laws like this. What they're gonna do is nothing but fraud. My husband and I couldn't be more disgusted with my sister-in-law and her husband. But we have no proof that Tyler is not depressed, so we wonder what to do. Then, one day something unexpected happened. Sarah, you don't look so well. Yeah, I had a little too much to drink last night. I had a drinking party with some of my classmates from college. I see. Your classmates must be a lot of cool and fashionable people. No, they're not. They're all old men and women. Well, I can't tell that of them, though. Laughing, Sarah showed me a photo that she took at that party yesterday. Huh? When I was shocked when I saw the photo, but could that man in the suit be? Oh, Tyler? Do you know him? Well, yeah. I see. Did Tyler seem to be doing well to you? Huh? Yeah, he was very energetic. He's been wearing expensive watches and recently bought a car. A watch and a car? I felt anger welling up inside of me. Michaela? The anger must have been showing on my face, and Sarah looked at me with concern. I'm sorry. What happened? Does it have to do with Tyler? To tell you the truth, I told Sarah everything. There's no way he has depression. He said yesterday he was covering for his subordinate at work when he made a mistake. He's working like a normal person. So he was lying after all. That's disgusting. He was using the money he got from his wife's parents to live lavishly, right? When Sarah found out the truth, she got very angry with him. She promised to explain to my in-laws with me and my husband. Is that true? I was drinking with Tyler and I heard him correctly. So I don't think he's sick. He's going to work as usual, and with the money you guys gave him, he and his wife are spending it on luxuries. I told you, my sister has been lying to you guys. My in-laws were shocked to learn the truth. I'm going to call Linda and her husband right now. My father-in-law said that and called my sister-in-law. And an hour later, my sister-in-law and her husband arrived. Dad, why'd you call me here all of a sudden? My sister-in-law was instantly disgusted when she noticed me and my husband. Why are you here, Aaron? I'm here because it's important for the family. Huh? What are you talking about? At that moment, Tyler came up behind my sister-in-law and pretended to be weak. But the moment he saw Sarah's face, Tyler froze in place. Hello, Tyler. Why are you here? I explained to Tyler, who was turning pale. She's my senior at work. I had no idea that you and Sarah went to college together. She told me that you guys saw each other at a party the other night, and she told me all about it. Tyler's face is getting paler and paler. Linda, you lied to us about Tyler being depressed. What are you talking about, Dad? Tyler is really depressed and he can't go to work right now. Lying to all of us like that won't help you now. We know that Tyler was covering for his coworkers' mistakes and that he's been taken about by his most recent work accomplishments. My sister-in-law finally understood what was going on. Mom, Dad, this isn't what it looks like. Then what is it? You deceived us. No, what do you mean depression? What do you mean unable to work? Have you ever given the slightest thought to those who are truly suffering from the disease? It's the end of you as a human being to tell such a lousy lie for the sake of your own luxury. My sister-in-law and husband were completely freaked out when my father-in-law yelled at them so angrily. I'm going to ask you to return the money I've given you. What? That's impossible. I already spent it. And you'll have to work or sell whatever you bought to pay us. If you don't pay us, we'll report it to the police. The police? Oh, no! The couple slumped down on the floor, looking pale in relation to the situation. Afterwards, Linda and Tyler ended up selling their car, watch, and other things to pay back my parents-in-law. However, they still didn't have enough money, so Linda, who used to be a housewife, is now working part-time to pay back the money. Sarah told the other university classmates about the incident, and even people at Tyler's workplace found out, so this began to embarrass him. The manager and the head of the department sarcastically said to him, "You seem to think that everything is power harassment." My sister-in-law and her husband tried to deceive us, and my parents-in-law with terrible lies, but as a result, they had to pay the price. Please, my life is so hard, I can't stand it. Can you believe me just this one time? One day, Linda and Tyler came to our house and got down on their knees and asked us to help them, but there's no way we were going to help them. Linda, you got what you deserve. Please, make sure they pay for their crimes. Don't ever get involved with us again. If you ever come back here, we'll call the police. After we said that, my sister-in-law and her husband ran away from our home quickly. I don't know how they've been doing since then, but I guess we can rest easy know that they stopped coming. They caused us a lot of trouble, but I'm glad it's settled for now. My husband and I were relieved to be back in our own home and enjoying our life again. Sarah, thank you so much for everything. It's fine. I'm rather sorry I didn't realize that my lovely junior was in trouble. As an apology for the trouble my classmate has caused you, let's go out for a drink together today. I'll pay. All right. Thank you. I'll follow you for the rest of my life. I can't thank Sarah enough for giving me the opportunity to expose my sister-in-law and her husband's wickedness. I'd like to buy her a drink, but I'm going to treat her to a delicious home-cooked meal the next time I invite her over. Please, tell me another interesting overseas story today. Sure. Today I'm going to tell everyone something that happened in Brazil with a young man who worked in an ice cream shop. I can't believe that Linda lied about her husband's illness and stole money from her parents. What a scammer. And I can't believe she thought Michaela and Aaron would allow them to live at their home. I'm glad Michaela and her family were able to protect their house from Linda.